Welcome fans of Chestnut Hill Lacrosse. The Chestnut Hill Lacrosse team hit new highs in 2019, setting a program record in wins with a record of 11-5. The Griffins look to build off that as they head into their 2020 season. Here's what to look for as their season gets underway. Expect to see the Griffins' high-powered offense back and potentially better. The Griffins retain most of their offensive power in players like Carson Reese, who had 50 goals last year, Scott Wilden with 43, Ben Revac with 38, and J.R. Howe with 29. They will need to find some players to step up to replace the production of Casey Brown, who had 33 goals last year. This team may just need one extra attackman, preferably a lefty, and another midfielder who can create for others. And we can be looking at an offense that is even better than the 2019 squad. On the defensive side, the Griffins have some more spots to fill as they lose Matt Anderson, Connor Crawford, and Chris Dahowski. The Griffins are positioned to replace that defensive production on the top end as both Connor O'Donnell and Jordan Jesnak enter their junior seasons after being starters last year. The Griffins will need to find some players to step up into those roles that Jesnak and O'Donnell had last year. Look to someone like PJ Spurnell to take on this role. And we cannot forget about the Swiss Army knife that is John Bennett. Bennett was the CACC Defensive Player of the Year last year, but he also had a great season offensively, having 18 goals. But Bennett really shined on the offensive end when he was being a playmaker and creating for others. A player like John, who contributes at a high rate on both ends, is hard to replace and cannot be replaced just by one person. The Griffins look to fill that role with a rotation of Billy DeMayo and Austin Philistine, who enter their junior seasons, as well as Jack Klein, who enters his sophomore season. I'm very interested in to see how Billy DeMayo steps up into this role. We know how good Billy DeMayo is on the defensive end, as he's been playing that role since freshman year and being a second-team CACC player in that spot. I'm very curious to see how DeMayo does on the offensive end and how he steps up in this new role as a two-way midfielder. My prediction for this team is that they are back in the CACC championship for the third straight year, and that at the end of it, they will have their first CACC conference title. Here to talk more about that with me is 2019 CAC Coach of the Year, Head Coach Mike Terranova. How are you doing, Coach T?
Evan, thanks for having me.
It's good to see you.
You too.
So you heard what I had to say about this season and the outlook. Is there anything that you agree with or disagree with?
I think you captured a lot of the thoughts of our coaching staff and our players coming into the year. We lost a really good senior class that had a lot of important roles for us. And your characterization on offense, John and Casey were great playmakers and guys that could both score and pass the ball. So we're looking for the right chemistry on the offensive end to be as good as we were last year and hopefully better. And defensively, you've targeted, the three guys coming back we're all optimistic on, and we have a lot of new defensemen that are, again, looking for the right chemistry and gel together. Our goals are set high. We want to win our conference. We want to go beyond our conference. We want to win every game on our schedule by focusing just on the next opponent in front of us. We're talking a lot about a 1-0 mentality, and so all we're worried about right now is UDC. Do everything and whatever it takes to beat UDC on Saturday.
You mentioned the offense, and what I was saying about the offense is that you still retain a lot of that high-end talent with the four pieces you have coming back, but there's just two little holes. Casey Brown, that lefty attack spot, and that extra offensive midi. Do you have anyone that can fill that spot, and how are you addressing that?
I think we do, and I think in the last 4 weeks of practice, we've developed a lot on offense. We've gotten a lot better and a lot more comfortable. Maurice Kelly is a junior transfer who is left-handed, who has a chance to play a lot of minutes for us. Nate Matthews is another attackman from California who's having a very good year. And then at the midfield, like you mentioned, it may be by committee. Billy DeMayo taking on a different role, Mickey Holland, Austin Philistine, Jack Klein. And even as those guys' roles shift around, a sophomore who's having a great preseason is Billy Garavente. A guy who will need to step up and help us defensively to support some guys maybe taking some more offensive runs. So I think we're in a good place, but we have a long way to go to get to the place where that unit was last year, where they were, undoubtedly clicking as well as just about any in our conference for sure, and one of the better ones in D2.
So flip side of that, the defensive end, we know that Connor O'Donnell and Jordan Jesnak, they've actually had some minutes since their freshman year. They can contribute a lot. But you're losing three pieces, and especially at the LSM position, we don't know exactly who's going to be there. How are you handling this defensive?
So from the outset, we knew we were going to be young as a team. We've got 3 seniors on this team, right? 2 goaltenders and Steve Venengo. But we also think we might be able to be more aggressive defensively, because the guys that are returning are some of the faster, stronger guys that we have on our defense, and the guys we've brought in are also comparable to that. So it's going to be up to a handful of freshmen to step up and take those roles. And as you alluded to, guys like Connor O'Donnell now being depended on as our number 1, and PJ Spurnell going from a guy who saw some time last year to being a guy who rarely comes off the field, and has to fill some LSM roles, fill some close roles. But the exciting thing is these guys, because a couple of them have been playing for a while, the unit defensively has a chance to be, we think, something that takes a big step in just their trust of each other. The guys we graduated were really smart guys, and they could read each other really well. These young guys have been together enough where we may be able to replicate that, but it could take some time.
A big part of the game that sometimes can get overlooked by fans is really at the face-off X. I know that was an area that posed some challenges last year for you guys. You hit every face-off about a 46% clip. I know the goal for you is try to be above 50%. How did you address that position, and what does the outlook look for the season at that spot?
So Steven Lapuzzo took the bulk of our draws, over 300 draws last year, and a few by Mickey Holland, a few by Austin Philistine and PJ Spurnell. We do think Steve's back and improved from last season. We would like, honestly, we would like to be, 50% is an incremental goal, but we'd love to be a team that can win 55% on the season. And in addition to that, we've got a couple freshmen who came in that are face-off guys, one from New Zealand, one from Delaware, and a few other long sticks who may, like PJ, be able to take some defensive draws and against possibly certain face-off players cause some ground balls and cause us to have an opportunity where if we potentially were to lose the first move, we can still go get the ball. So I think Steven out the gate has been great. He's been stronger and more detailed than he was last season. But we also have more competition for him this year. And every day in practice, he's getting pushed by 3 or 4 face-off guys, as opposed to kind of last year, he was kind of the solo guy at that position for us.
Another big component to team success, and was definitely a factor in your success last year, is the goalie position. You had Austin Jones, who was second team CACC, but you also have now a newcomer in Jake Miller, who's done very well, and you have 2 great seniors. So how important is it to have a lot of talent and depth at that position? How does the team look there?
So that has been awesome to have Steve Hogan, Mike Trezza, right, our older guys and senior guys, as well as a couple guys who are sophomores, who are immensely talented. That is a position where some places on the field we're worried about how are we going to fill that spot, how are we going to move some pieces around. With the goaltending position, it's really about who's going to win the job.
Yeah.
We have 4 great goaltenders, and the guy who rises to the top of that pile is going to do a tremendous job for us this year. So that has been a relief in that we got plenty of guys who can do the job. It's really been them battling against each other and their performance in the scrimmages that'll determine who we start on Saturday.
Well, I appreciate you coming in, Coach T. Best of luck in the season.
Thanks, Evan.
Thank you all. I hope this was gets you all ready excited for the year for the Griffins lacrosse. You got to catch the Griffins at their home opener this Saturday against UDC. And as always, go Griffs.